A dictator goes on trial on this date. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is October 19th, 2023. It is the 292nd day of the year. There are 73 days left in 2023. It is the 42nd Thursday in the 42nd week and the 27th day of fall. You got 63 days left until winter. I was just watching the news. It's an El Nino year here on the West Coast, and it looks like they're predicting, at least, Oregon and Washington are going to get slammed with snow a couple times this year. If you don't live in the Portland area, we only get a couple dustings every single year, and then, I don't know, every other year, every third year, we get a good snowstorm that kind of locks us in for a few days. We're definitely not like Minnesota or Wisconsin where, you're just frozen in the house for weeks at a time sometimes. But on the years we get it bad, like they're predicting this year, we get a couple good storms where we are locked in the house for a week. I mean, not going to work, things like that. Our buses shut down, our trains shut down. It's horrible. We're not built for the snow. Today is National New Friends Day. National New Friends Day rolls around annually on October 19th. This holiday is all about making room for new connections in your life and celebrating the potential for friendship everywhere you go. It's really strange. I've always thought it was normal to have a whole bunch of friends. People that I've gotten to know, I stay in touch with people. A lot of friends from the Army, thanks to Facebook and all, but some people I talk to, they just can't believe all the people I talk to that are my friends. They're like, I talked to one person from high school. I always got room for new friends. All right, let's see what else October 19th has given us. 1864, the American Civil War. The Battle of Cedar Creek ends, the last Confederate threat to Washington, D.C. They had gotten close a couple times, but this was their final attempt to even get close. 1944, World War II. United States forces land in the Philippines. 1950, the Korean War. The Battle of Pyongyang ends with a United States victory. Hours later, the Chinese army begins crossing the border into Korea. This turns into the battle, well, one of the battles, but the Battle of Chosin Reservoir. There's a documentary on that battle on Netflix, I believe. And as the Chinese came across, this is the dead of winter in Korea, terribly cold. The villagers came to the Marines and the Army unit, actually many years before I was in there, obviously, but the same division I was in, they were all at the Chosin Reservoir, and these villagers came to, seek protection with the U.S. military. Just the stories of what went on there, it's insane. These poor villagers couldn't light fires. They all needed to light fires because they were all freezing, the villagers and the American soldiers and Marines, but they couldn't. Almost every single one of the Marines and American soldiers they interviewed during this thing talked about how they're surprised that these Koreans didn't freeze to death while they were waiting for this battle to be over and the rescue to come get them all. Said they would huddle in the middle of the base. Like, have you ever seen how herd type animals, I don't know, like buffalo or whatever, they all huddled together when it's really cold? The guys were saying that that's what they were all doing to try and stay warm. And every time the wind blew, you could just hear them all groan. It was horrible. I mean, there's a battle going on and you're freezing to death. That's got to be rough. 1950, Iran becomes the first country to accept technical assistance from the United States under the 4-Point Program. 1960, the United States imposes a near total trade embargo against Cuba. 1987, Black Monday. The Dow Jones Industrial Average falls by 22%, or 508 points. At the time, that was kind of big. 2005, Saddam Hussein goes on trial in Baghdad for crimes against humanity. Now, crimes against humanity is a phrase they use when someone, usually a world leader or something like that, has done so many horrible things that they just don't have time to name them all. I mean, they have time, but what's the point? Just crimes against humanity means they were the worst of the worst type of people, and they need to go on trial for this. And if you know anything about Saddam Hussein and what his sons did while he was running that country, he earned this phrase. In the early 2000s, the world watched as the trial of Saddam Hussein, the deposed president of Iraq, unfolded. It all began when the Coalition Provisional Authority decided to establish the Iraqi Special Tribunal in December of 2003. This tribunal consisted of 5 Iraqi judges tasked with trying Saddam Hussein and his associates for a range of grave charges, including war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide dating back to the 1980s. Saddam Hussein's journey through the courtroom started with his capture by U.S. forces on December 13, 2003. He was held in custody by the United States at Camp Cropper in Baghdad, along with a bunch of high-ranking Ba'athist officials. The trial itself focused on his involvement in violent campaigns against different groups, including the Kurds in the northern portion of Iraq during the Iraq-Iran War, the Shiites in the southern section of the country from 91 to 99, and another group that had tried to assassinate him in 1982. Throughout the proceedings, Saddam maintained that he had been unlawfully ousted and insisted that he was still Iraq's rightful president. The first trial began in October of 2005 with Saddam and 7 of his co-defendants facing charges related to crimes against humanity stemming from the events in 1982 after the assassination attempt. A second trial commenced in August of 2006, this time tackling allegations of genocide during the campaign against northern Iraq's Kurdish population. Ultimately, on November 5, 2006, Saddam Hussein was sentenced to death by hanging. Despite appeals, his fate was sealed when his appeal was rejected on December 26. The world learned of his execution on December 30th, 2006, and with his death, all other charges against him were dropped. They didn't mess around. You get on the death penalty here in the United States, and it could be 20 years before you actually meet your fate. He had a little over a month. Now, critics voiced their concerns about the trial, seeing it as falling short of international standards for a fair trial. Amnesty International criticized it as unfair, while Human Rights Watch argued that Saddam's execution marked a troubling departure from the rule of law in Iraq. Even before this went on, before the trial, there was all kinds of accusations. This was just a show trial. They already knew what they were going to do with him. They were just doing this to kind of put up a front. Either way, it ended with him being hung. When that first happened, it leaked onto the internet and I saw the video. It was graphic. What was really weird was people started throwing shoes at him. Movies released on October 19th, 2001, Mulholland Drive. This was a pretty good movie. Set in a dreamlike Los Angeles, a woman who suffers a terrible car crash is left with amnesia. She runs into a Midwestern girl who helps her piece together her past and find out how she got to where she is. David Lynch wrote and directed this, and it was later nominated for an Academy Award for Best Director. Now, David Lynch movies are a little strange, and you kind of have to have a tolerance for artsy movies, but unlike a lot of other artsy type movies, he still tells the story without having to sit there and put a bunch of brain power into the plot twists. None of his movies are really, I would say, mainstream. Dune, the 1984 version of Dune, that was kind of mainstream, but Blue Velvet, that was weird. Twin Peaks, extra weird. Eraserhead, 1977, was just strange, but this one was okay. You didn't really have to think too hard about it. It had Naomi Watts in it, Justin Theroux, and Robert Foster. Born on October 19th, 1945, John Lithgow. I like him. He was pretty good. He's a dramatic actor who shifted into comedy on the television show Third Rock from the Sun. He's also known for his roles in such films as Interstellar, Terms of Endearment, World According to Garp. He always does a good job in whatever he's in. He decided to get into acting after seeing a play while attending Harvard University. He graduated magna cum laude in 1967. Died on October 19th, 2010, we lost Tom Bosley. He played the role of Richie's dad, Howard Cunningham, on the television show Happy Days, and was the lead in Father Dowling Mysteries. He fought World War II with the United States Navy, and he performed at the Woodstock Opera House in Woodstock, Illinois from 1949 to 1950 alongside Paul Newman. Interesting fact about Tom Bosley, he was supposed to play Bosley on Charlie's Angels. That's why the character's name is Bosley, but he turned it down at the last minute and they had to get a replacement who, oddly enough, looked a lot like him. Tom Bosley died from complications of a staph infection on October 19, 2010, at a hospital in Rancho Mirage, California, near Palm Springs. He had been battling lung cancer. All right, that's today's video. Sorry about if I just sounded weird. Serious sinus things going on with allergies and stuff today, so I apologize. All right, everyone, have a great day. Be nice to each other.